I drink coffee, so I've already had my cup of coffee already.
All right.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
so welcome to our weekly new global media talk show. Today is January 12th, 2025. Today we're gonna be talking about financial independence. We have our guest here, Yusuf Ba. Yusuf, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sawaneh. Glad to be here.
Thank you. I have my co-host Sam Ceesay, Sam from Indiana. Welcome.
Thank you.
And my other co-host Ousman Camara, Camara. Ousman, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so very much, Mr. Sawaneh. Thank you.
Famara will join us later. But without wasting any time, let's just get into the topic. Our topic of discussion today is going to be financial independence. This is applicable to folks anywhere. It could be parents, it could be people in diaspora. So our guest here has some financial background, Yusuf Ba. So Yusuf, you can go and introduce yourself, and then to our audience, and then just jump right into the discussion. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Sawaneh. As mentioned, my name is Yusuf Ba. I was originally from Sierra Leone and went to school there, came to the state, and continued some and got to be into banking. And I've been into banking since I met literally Momodou back in the late 90s, was it?
Yes, yes.
And I we lived in New York quite a bit and moved to Atlanta and relocated back up to Maryland, where I still am in the banking industry. I've done different facets of banking. Granted, it's all retail banking, but you have the commercial banking, you have uh, community banking, and you have credit union banking as well. I've had the privilege of getting experiences in all these areas of banking. The fundamental is I love what I'm doing and I love what I do. And I do it basically not just for my own development, but to also help people. And where does that go? Financial independence, as we were talking about. Um, if we were to say financial independence, that's a very broad subject. We cannot cover that in maybe 6 months because of the breadth that it has. But the fundamentals here are the same, regardless of where you find yourself in. It could be in the Gambia, you could be in Sierra Leone, uh, you could be in Dubai and here in the States as well. So all the fundamental bases are the same. Is if you save, you invest, and you manage your assets and your liabilities. These are the fundamental basis for financial independence. But we can delve into these a little bit more into the conversation. But um, regardless of where you are, all the bases are the same for financial independence. This may be different from family to family or from person to person, but they're all the same. But we can go into that a little bit more once we get a grip here and have some other people put into some of their 2 cents, I must say.
Thank you. Um, in regards to financial independence, I have a banking background as well. I worked 12 years with Amalgamated Bank, but I was doing an IT role, which is I was an IT support engineer. But what I noticed during the course of this time is that the banks, most of the areas that they sustain their financial gain from is opening accounts, deposits, and also loans. So we see that loans has been a forefront of the main source of revenue for banks. Our first CEO failed because he had given bad loans and he ended up getting fired. So
Yep.
depending on the kind of loans that you give, you could be on a hot seat or you could be on a soft seat, or you can get you can get rewarded based on that, because these boards, these CEOs also, they have board members who actually look at their performance. So most of his friends that he trusted end up giving bad loans that they didn't even check all the check boxes, and then end up not getting anything out of that. So I know loans is a huge thing when it comes to our community. Most people are worried about, they're scared, especially in the West here, to take loans or to take mortgages because of religious background, because of other stuff. They're worried about mortgages, and then how it is been mentioned in Islam about the interest and all of that. So, but I know loans is the backbone of any financial industry. Industry. So I want to us to look at that area as well. And in terms of like for our community which we serve, the ideal thing in this discussion is what can they benefit when you look at financial services. There's a lot, like you said, we can spend the whole year talking about it. The reason why we didn't come with a specific area, because I want us to choose that here while we are discussing that, so we can be comfortable. We can even look at life insurance. That's one thing that our religion also, like some folks have really problem, getting into that. But life insurance could save a family when somebody passed away. We can look at college tuition, 525, 529. 529, is another thing that can benefit families. Most people don't know about that. You know, like you can save money ahead of time for your kids to for your kids college, instead of going to the school you and gentes and spending on goals and stuff like that. This woman can actually do that. That way they don't have to suffer later for their kids in their education. And even if their kids get scholarship, they could easily divert that funds to buying them cars, buying them other things that are school related. Okay, so we can also look at areas like us here in the diaspora. We stay here for ages, and guess what? We're doing the same thing until the death comes. Some of us don't even have any investment in this country. It's now that I've seen, since I'm in real estate, I've seen some people are getting up and started to acquire property. I have came across somebody who said, I asked him, you have money, you're making how much, a week, and you could purchase a property. He said, but I will die soon. So what am I going to do with the property? He said he will die soon because he's around 50 something. That make me even worried when he mentioned that, because I know I know folks, us here, some of us are close to that age. So the fact of the matter is the way we think is a problem. So I would like, Yusuf, to, based on your choice, you can hammer any area. I'm just trying to pinpoint a lot of areas that really are concern to our community, and that could help them make, financial, decisions. Yeah, but I will stop here.
Fantastic. It's a great it's a great, and you have a bunch of items there. If I can just dissect them a little bit, so I can touch on most of them basically, but I'll pick on a few. Um, Financial institutions, they make money in a very unique way. Like for instance, we all know this. We take our money, dump it into a savings account, okay, and they give us what interest? 0.03, and they take that money and lend it out to you, the depositor, for 8%. So your money is what you are paying interest on indirectly, not knowing it. But so that's one thing. And I know if we can go back to 2008 and see what happened with the financial systems in the US, that trickled down to the wall, to that paralyzed the global economy back in 2008. you know that started with loans, bad mortgages, bad insurance policies that were in, from Lehman Brothers to the bank's failure and all of that. So we knew, but part of it was a huge portfolio in mortgages. And this was very big, excuse me, because they had financial institutions giving money out in the form of loans to people who were not doing documented processing. And they had a word for it back in the days. They called it no doc loans. What people would do when they would just come to the bank and just fill out an application saying, I'm a self-employed individual and I make $220,000 in a year. and say, well, what's your backing for it? And they go to cook some W-2 forms, plug in some numbers and bring it to the bank. The bank, lacking some verification process back then, just hand them a loan for $500,000 for a property that's 120,000. So you see how that goes. But unfortunately, that affected a huge segment of our society here in the States and a lot of people in our African community, because I know when I was in Atlanta, a lot of people had, loans that were um, structured in like the balloon kind of loans. You pay just the interest for the first 2 years, and the third, fourth year, the principal kicks in. You're paying 700, 800, 900, 1,200 on a 5-bedroom house, and the first 2 years you're just paying the interest. And when the third, fourth year kicks in, your payment balloons to about $4,000, and you don't have the finances to support that obligation, and you end up walking away. And the banks don't need the buildings; they don't. That's why they put these things on auctions all the time and selling them for pennies on a dollar. But that's just one thing. So the loan is a big factor in finances. And you said something very, very, very strong. As Muslims in a community where we find ourselves that runs a business financially in a way that makes them money, not the way we look at if we were to go to the foundations of Islam. You know, if you come to me on Islamic grounds, please pardon me, I'm not a cleric. And also, let me give this disclosure. I'm not a big financial advisor. All I'm saying here is based on my opinion and my, and don't hold Momodou Sawaneh and anybody here for any advice. So don't look at it that way. But it's just a point of sharing things. So coming back to this, on the Islamic foundations, we know, I mean, if I borrow money, I have to give you just exactly as I borrowed, pay back, no interest or anything. So that outlines the area we call riba. Now, but you have to also understand that the Quran or our foundations in Islam says, wherever you find yourself, you have to respect God first and the law of the land. So this is a very gray area. I've engaged Muslim scholars to some extent on this subject, because one time I said something about interest rate on savings bonds, on government bonds, and they said, oh, that's not this and that. I said, but look, what we should understand is that we are lending the government the money. If we lended the government the money, it's a form of investment. So when they make profit, they give us a share of the profit. But just because it's underlined as interest, that makes it a little bit gray for us as Muslims. And we don't want to obstruct our Islamic foundations based on just 200,000 that we gain. And we risk Al Jannah because of worldly gains. And I know that's very gray area, but maybe in time to come, we'll delve into that. On the other aspect that we're talking about, life insurance is another area. I don't think Islam frowns upon that, because let's look at this from an objective point. God forbid we in a community, people get sick. Most of our people are not into the ideas of, investing in even their medical care. But what happens if, God forbid, one of these people are, downridden with an ailment that will threaten their life, and God forbid, they pass away? If you don't have anything saved for that funeral, think about it. The average cost of a funeral is about $20,000, from ABC to the burial. And if you want to up it up, think about if that body has to be, taken back to, Sierra Leone or the Gambia. What cost is there to do that? There's a lot. So think about it. You can do little things in the form of insurance that will give you, burial benefits straight off the bat. I have a good friend of mine from Sierra Leone as well. He is in this area that does a lot of these insurances and life insurances and what have you, because of the licensing sector of that. and it will be conflict of interest for me as a quote unquote common banker to be in that area because there are two facades within the banking industry. One is, you know, Momodou, probably you know this, SPIC, and the other one is FDIC. So one is federally insured and the other one is not. So meaning there's no value in, if you lose it, but the other one has value in case you lose it. But a lot of things that I hear, you know, mortgages, these are things that people can gain tremendously from. All we got to do is just find a structured way. But I can yield in a second so that we can have an input and we can come back to this. But looking about the financial foundations, which is our topic today, is that you have to know a few things. The bases are here. Is one, how you manage your liabilities and your assets. And the second thing is knowing where you are in this part of the world, your credit worthiness, which is your credit scores and what have you. And number three is looking at what you can gain from in time to come, which is to say, if I invest in a property, is it acquiring or is it, gaining value with time? But, we can get into a little bit of that down the line. Thank you. Over to you.
You're muted, Mr. Sawaneh.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Yusuf. You have touched loans. You have touched you know, uh, credits, and you have also touched like the way the banking operates. So before I come in, I will just let Usman and then Sam just chip in a little bit so we can make the debate, we can make the discussion a little more interactive, and also of course ask questions and then also make comments. Yeah.
Yep, I would say that, Mr. Bat, thank you. First of all, thank you for your time and thank you for really accepting this invitation to join us today. This is a platform that we talk a lot about civic education, and when we have guests that comes in, I look at them as a subject matter expert for their area of expertise, like you. So I like to give you the opportunity to talk more about and get into details of certain areas. If you can dissect, you know, some of the things that you just talked about. For example, what will benefit Gambians, when it comes to life insurance and banking styles and investments and things like that. If you could get into things like that to really help our viewers understand the differences, but at the same time also help them make right decisions with their finance as part of their long-term investment and long-term financial independence. I'd like for you to get into that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what would benefit Gambians, Sierra Leoneans, and Africans? Everybody.
Absolutely. So I said Gambians because most of the time we talk about Gambia.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
This is more of a global thing. So
Global thing. Yeah.
anybody anywhere, because it applies to everybody. Yes.
Yeah, it's natural. Yeah, it's natural you say that, but I can tell you this. Sometimes, you know, we we gain education not just from quote unquote the formal areas of doing it by going to schools and colleges because these days they don't teach that. I have a son who is 17 and bound for college. And he came to me when they introduced financial literacy in school. I was thrilled because I'm like, I'm doing this with this kid at home, and now they're doing it at school. So he bounced off some of the questions. We went back and forth with this, and I was glad that they're doing that. So it is my utmost pleasure to share what I know with our communities in the Gambia, Sierra Leone, and in fact, even some Americans can benefit from this, because I can guarantee you most people are oblivious to the fact of the things that can help them in terms of, you know, even saving on interest with little obligations, such as credit cards or what they have. And I know a lot of us have those, some multiple in our pockets or in our purses for the ladies. And that can be drowning. That can be really, really drowning for some people, because if you look at the average interest on a credit card, it's in the 20s. Conservatively, about 15%, 18%. And those are the good conservative cards currently that are under 20, under 18%. All the others are 23s and going up. So there are ways people can get out of these. And here's why that is so important. It gives you financial independence. Because think about it. If you have an average credit card at $3,000 balance on it, what you'll be paying, say they tell you your monthly uh, 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 payment is about $230, $250, because it gives you about 2% of what the balance is. So if they ask you to pay $230, a good chunk of that would be going to service the interest as opposed to servicing your principal. How is that? So the $230 you pay monthly, maybe 160, 170, if your interest rate is above 20%. $160, $170 will be going towards just your interest. And your principal is reduced by less than $100. And you get your next statement, you look at it, I just paid $250, $230, but my principal just dropped by $30, $40, because the interest get compounded on a daily basis. And this is why people get blinded. And look out for offers within that same credit card. They may send you, hey, look, we have an offer of 0% interest for 18 months. You can transfer that and not pay that interest for 18 months, but you have to be, again, like I said in the beginning, you have to have the discipline to be on top of it. You have to have a discipline to understand that if I don't make this a priority, I'll be running in a circle like a hamster. You'll be just going in this circle, pain, but you're not going anywhere. Okay? But if you have the discipline to understand that once I get this offer from Bank B, I can use Bank B to pay Bank A's credit and not pay interest for 18 months or even a year. That interest you save, which is about 20%, you can still take that money, make it your regular payment, and you pay that debt faster. Or even if you have $10 more on top of that, you can get out of that debt sooner than if it stayed with the other one. Because people say, oh, well, I'll stay with this card. I've had them for. No, you're not closing it. You're just transferring and leaving it open. Do not. And Momodou can tell, because in the real estate industry, credit score matters a great deal. So closing a credit card will hamper your progress in in upping your credit score. So do not. You can just transfer the balance and pay less interest for that also. And the other area also with financial independence is, people are people, both Sierra Leoneans, Guineans, Gambians, and most Africans. I mean, we get uprooted from our homes that we do something very differently in the financial spheres. We are not used to allocations. We are not used to planning. We're not used to making provisions for month 2, month 3, in case something happens. So these are the other things. We have to teach ourselves to be structured in that arena. We have to teach ourselves. It's new. It's easy. You can do spreadsheet on your own. Get ABC, allocate what's coming in, allocate what's going out. When you put this together, you have to divvy up what's coming in and match it to what's going out. And thereby, you can tell yourself where you are. If you need to cut on AB, cut on AB to make sure that you satisfying C. All of these things we have to teach it, or to make sure that we have the discipline to understand it. That's the first one. And the discipline to maintain it. Because once you maintain it, habits don't die. Once we are used to doing that, we can only progress from that. And that gives us the ability to make wider and freer decisions down the line. So I can yield and have someone else contribute a little bit,
Yeah.
and then we
So
can pick it up from there.
yes. Before Ousman comes, I just wanna show you guys something quick. Is that okay? Because he mentioned something, and I do something similar to that. I'm gonna share my screen. Never done that before, but so, and then this will be quick because I don't want you guys to see my a lot of my information. So it's gonna be quick. Okay. So what Yusuf is saying, we write everything down. Um, cooking domoda. So candies for Ibrahim. So stuff like that. So I've been writing this down the whole of the since in the beginning on the 12th of 2024. I mean on the 1st of 2024 to the 31st. So this is something that again, we can do at our own level. So it's just something to share. But again, I don't mean to, you know, keep this long because it's financial information. But people told me that I was crazy when I tell them this that it's written down on a daily basis. I say, if I can earn it, if I'm not crazy enough to earn it, why would I be crazy enough not to count? And
Yep.
what I do is like I go back every month and see what the hell am I doing spending this much money. So the next month it will make me become financially disciplined. Yeah. So when I tell this to people verbally, they will be like, oh, wait a minute, you know, are you crazy? So I'm just giving this synopsis just to give you guys an idea to support that area. So it can happen. If I can do it, you can do it. But
Yeah,
let's
most times people think it's difficult, and you don't have to have it in a structured way like that. I mean, some people are not, Excel, novice, or you're novice in Excel. You can just get a plain sheet of paper, you know, put my income, what's coming in for the month, put my expense for the month, and match it together and see if there's a gap. And if you find the gap, structure yourself and say, okay, how do I get rid of this? Or this is becoming a burden. How you can tweak it a little bit to meet, you know, you play around with the numbers, but we can get into that a little bit more maybe down the line if we have another opportunity.
thank you. Yeah, Usman. Usman, are you there?
I think Usman is on mute.
Yeah, you unmute. You have to unmute. Okay, I think he's probably frozen. Sam, do you have any additional questions?
No, not questions, but I think it's very interesting to continue to listen to Mr. Ba and with all the things that he's talking about. Like I said earlier, I think this is a session that is going to benefit a lot of people, across the globe. And anyone that get a chance to not even watching us today live, but people that are going to be watching this later on, after we finish this, are going to benefit a lot of it. So I just want to give him the opportunity to continue to talk about this because this is his area of expertise, not mine. So, I think it's a great thing to get into that. And so, Mr. Ba, what about the live insurance thing? That there's so many things being talked about that as well. Can you put some insight into that so people understand how that works?
Absolutely. With life insurance, there are different types of it. There are even some now, and again, I'm not licensed to give advice on this. I'll tell you, I have my NMLS. I can talk loans, but I'm not licensed to talk about these only life insurance products. So if you were to quote me or you come against us in this program, that's my that's my that's my
No, I
that's
totally
my what you
understand.
call it.
Yes,
So
yes.
no, but I mean it's for the listeners because I can tell
Yeah.
you this, I do this at work on a day-to-day basis. When I get an opportunity to sit with somebody, I ask them simple questions and they'll provide me some answers and I'll dwell a little bit more into it. So what I do in this arena of life insurance, which I don't do on a daily basis, I do it with family members and friends in social circles that we belong. I emphasize the importance of it. If you're a property owner, because that's where the bigger thing is, and for you homeowners, you can tell on this front, you have to get, which is like a mortgage life insurance. Get it. It insures your life against the value of your property. Say, for instance, if you're in a property for $150,000 and you get the life insurance that covers you, in case something happens to you, that mortgage is paid off right away and that burden is off on the family. Okay. And again, they have a way of structuring it. Ask the right questions. It may be different for some people, and some people may not even want to take the full one. You can go up to for half of it. But if you're there with your spouse, because sometimes, I mean, these insurance policies, they tend to favor female more than men. But that is because the risk involved, generally based on the statistics that they have, or based on the data or the information that they have at hand, they look at men taking higher risk or harder things or making, you know, crazy judgments, wherein women are a lot more subdued in terms of making harsh decisions that will adversely affect their lives. So that translates to what the policy may cost you as a man, as opposed to you being a woman. So if you're a couple and you both are looking to get an insurance on a principal property, what you want to do is you want to go at it independently. The guy will go in and ask for X amount of dollars. If it turned out to be a little bit costly, let's say if the house is $500,000, if the policy for $500,000 is going to cost you $300, and you look at your finances and say, I can only come up with 150 without creating a problem or burden in another area. So you can opt to get that halved from 500 to $250,000. So your insurance will be 250,000. That is in case something happens to you, that $250,000 will go to pay and meet the obligations of the home's value, okay, or what you owe, the balance you owe on that. Now, if on the spouse's side, if yes, she can also ask for the same policy at 500,000. You find out it'll cost her tremendously less than it'll cost you, the guy or man. So she can go for the whole amount and pay less, to satisfy that policy. You can do that. So by having that, some of these things, based on how they're structured, they can structure them real well to a point that it has, you know, illness benefits. Say, for instance, if either party is stricken with like a terminal disease, that insurance policy will kick in and pay the mortgage for you consistently until either you get well or unfortunately that person passes away, and then it fulfills the obligation of paying the mortgage off. Off later we can talk about, because I know somebody who is in this area, and we can extend the invitation to him and he can come talk to us a lot about that in the future. And you have other insurance policies that are what they call I don't want to go into this a little bit, but they call IUL. These are machineries that are far better than some of the other investment properties that we use to retirement. But at the same time, it's an insurance policy, but it generates cash for you at the end. But this can be a little bit expensive. And like I said, I can send Momodou some materials on that, and we can make some connections with that. But circling back to where we are with this, how can this benefit our people? Having life insurance, if you have religious drawbacks, I'll suggest one, talk to your imam, talk to your learned person in the community, ask them about it. And if they tell you it's frowned upon, they may give you instances to either one, tell you by either hadith or by Quranic verses to prove that this is not allowed in that community. One, if they substantiate that for you, then you can make your call. But also, think about it. What would you like to leave for your family? You want to leave a burden for them, or you want to make them at peace with that? Now, with life insurance, that's one part of it. If you have that religious nag that tells you, I'm not too sure, ask the imam. And once you get your answer that you're looking for, whether yea or nay, and then you move on to the next. There are other things we can do in terms of securing our assets. Think about, if I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with trusts. We can create trust and take that property, transfer it to a trust. So it's off of us in the sense that the obligation is not on you, the property owner, anymore. It goes to the trust, and you manages the trust, and that trust becomes a guardian in a sense that it is secured. And that can be a whole other subject as well in trust, because when we have a trust, we are shielded as individuals on it because it doesn't show us as property owners anymore. It shows that we are just either the beneficiaries of the trust or the controllers or the managers of that trust. But we can talk a little bit more into that. So these are the areas that we can have our families benefit from financial stuff or insurance stuff that can, be generational for our families and our offsprings in time to come.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope that answers Sam's question. Before I move to Usman, and I have also like additional things towards the credit area, additional
Mm-hmm.
tips on that. But I will let Usman. Sam, that's good. That's good to go.
Yeah, this is that's good. Like I said, very good information, and this is something that's going to benefit a lot of people across the globe. So, yeah, great job, great explanations. Thank you for that. Yeah, we'll let Usman come in too as well.
Yeah. So, Usman.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ba. Thank you, Yusuf. Thank you so very much for coming. It's a
You're welcome.
pleasure that you are with us, explaining very interesting and salient issues regarding our financial issues, which is quite very paramount for us. Um, I think I will ask you from the from our view or from the Gambian aspect, because that's where I'm more interested. Because the issue of financial independence in the Gambia is a big concern, and then how can we improve it is a case for us. So, looking at things and how developing countries, which of course the Gambia is part and parcel, what encouragement? Because the issue of like saving in the banks, um, what type of especially with these insurance issues, because the Gambians are not, many of us are not interested with this insurance thing, because the belief or the mindset is that how will it benefit us when you have what you call whole lot of family to feed on, or to feed. So, what encouragement, as an expert at our end, what encouragement do you think you have for the people of the Gambia? Because that's where I'm very much interested in. with regards to this insurance thing, because I could recall once upon a time, my very good friend was actually he was doing the same thing. Of course, I'm doing it, but he has to, cut it short because something, more relevant or more important, pop up, and then he couldn't just continue with the insurance thing. He has to go and then get his money from them. So, if there is anything that you think you have, perhaps I'm sure you understand, third world countries, Sierra Leone, which of course, and then of course the Gambia. What do you think would be your honest opinion as far as financial independence is concerned towards the people of the Gambia? Thank you so very much.
Thank you. That's a very good and loaded question as well. You know, the situations in the Gambia reminiscent of that in Sierra Leone. But I can tell you this, the basis for all of this, financial independence or financial normalization in any respect, it doesn't matter where you are. The fundamentals or the basis are the same. If you're able to analyze what your income is or the money you're making and look at what your expenses are, you know, these are just the fundamental basis, regardless of where. And I know in Africa, we're with the notion that, you know, whatever I get today, I spend. God will provide for me tomorrow. I know that, you know, and it is what it is. We understand that. But things have changed so tremendously that, you know, there's a need for all of these things. I remember I used to even tease Momodou that, you know, Sierra Leone, we educated the Gambians because of from Sadada Jawara, you know, going to school in Sierra Leone at the Forabe College. But we have more of the same things, you know. In fact, the judicial system is all based off the same thread, which is the British system. And so is the insurance policies and the banking policies as well. But I guess to say this is more so the education. If the people can, one, educate themselves, or the people who have the knowledge can relay that knowledge to the people, it can uplift them. Think about it this way. I've been hearing of savings bonds since I was a teenager in Sierra Leone. And in fact, I tell this story very quietly most times. I said that was even my inspiration. The Bank of Sierra Leone had what they call, you know, it's like these trade shows that they go from state to state, agricultural trade shows. I'm not sure if if they've been doing those now, but I know in Sierra Leone they slowed them down a lot back in those days. But I remember I was a teenager when I went to one of those trade shows, and there was a booth that was manned by the Bank of Sierra Leone. I remember the guy was on the microphone saying, buy the premium savings bonds, Bank of Sierra Leone. That stuck with me. Can you believe that? I'm over 40 and that still stuck with me. And that was one of my, you know, my seeding inspirations to become, you know, interested in the banking industry. I say this because we have to teach each other. We have to share knowledge of what can benefit us as a community. Because, you know, in Africa, this is common. You find one successful person in an area, and then everybody else is just sort of like oblivious to what that success is or how that person got successful. Or they say, oh, God blessed him, he's a lucky man. No, he applied something. He applied something that's what helped him. But for us, I mean, we look at things in a different facet, but still we come back to the basis education. Insurance is there in the Gambia as it is in Sierra Leone. Banking is there. If you go to the banks, they give loans. And I'm sure they do in the Gambia. They do bank loans in Sierra Leone with interest rate. They do lines of credit in Sierra Leone with interest rates. And they do insurance. And then we all know if you drive a car in the Gambia, you don't have insurance, you get stopped by the police, you're into trouble. So along those lines with insurance as well, in part of those insurance policies, there's life insurance, you know, somewhere in the little print that has life insurance in it, but it's only tied to automobile accidents, wherein if it becomes fatal, the insurance company has an obligation to meet and satisfy the deceased to a certain amount. Is it knowledgeable to the people? Some people are just buying an insurance policy because, oh, I have to have insurance to drive my car. They don't take the time to look at it. So this is where the thing should start. If an automobile owner is buying life insurance, I mean, is buying insurance for their automobile, let them find out what does that cover. And number one. So if it doesn't cover them, ask that same insurance company, because I know there are very many of them. Ask the insurance company, what other policies do you sell apart from automobile insurance? Do you sell life insurance? What is it about? And they can educate the community people and tell them that, okay, if something happens, burial can cost how many thousands of dollars from the gathering to get the people together, to the mortuary, to the burial. Maybe that individual has 4 kids that are in school. Whatever that money gets them as the proceeds from the life insurance policy, that can help them either fund college for one or two of them. Because we know our family structures are the same in the sub-Saharan African areas. So all of these things is just incumbent on us as individuals or as family members to, one, ask the right questions, two, you know, look for what can benefit us financially, because the world has become smaller. The world has become smaller. Everything you find today in the West is shadowed in Africa. We see it. I mean, look at now. We are live with Ousman. You know, think about this 20 years ago. Was that even a possibility? Momodou and I will have to go to one of those places on Fordham Road on the telephone booths to go call people in Africa. Or we go to the gas station and buy a $5 card and come home and call somebody for 3 minutes. And now we are, blessed advancement of science and technology and information. So we have this. So a lot of things has moved, and so is a lot of the investment stuff that had moved, because we have investment opportunities in the Gambia, like the TAF company that is doing this massive subdivision structures in sub-Saharan Africa. They're doing it. They're doing mortgages. People should ask these questions. How can I benefit from this? Is there a lending program? If the property costs $160,000, is there a payment structure you can set for me? These are all sources that we can get to create financial independence, as opposed to saying, oh, I'll just stay here. This is where my grandfather left me. I've been here with my mom's siblings and all of us here. The independence of finance is incumbent on every individual to look at it based on what their needs are and based on what they foresee their offsprings to gain from. So that's my take on that. Thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Sawaneh, I just wish to observe a few things once again. Mr. Ba, with regards to the job nature in Africa, the job nature, don't you think our job nature is also a major constraint to lack of financial independence? Because, like, working from 8 in the morning to 5 o'clock in the evening, or in the afternoon, or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, for one institutions. And then what will you say to the suggestion to say, why not we reconsider the timing working at one institution, which of course in the other part of the world, for example in the US and of course in the UK, it could be a different timing, because they will give you, like, for example, 5 hours, 6 hours, and you go to another place and say, perhaps that has led to a major boost in terms of financial independence in other part of the world. But in Africa, taking case study of Sierra Leone and that of the Gambia, don't you think that is a major setback? And then your pay at the end of the month is also another factor that could be very much discouraging. And then, considering all factors constant, the family is solely relying on you, and then you don't have any alternative with regards to the source of finance. Thank you.
And that's a subject in itself. But I mean, I can tell you this. I mean, it's that's not even just in Africa, okay? In almost all developing nations, you can even India. India is in the BRICS. Okay, they're in between. They're not in the developing area. They're halfway up to the developed. Even in India, but look at the population in India. So, and look at the job. If you look at the job market ratio and how many jobs are available per capita versus how many people are vying for the jobs. So you see, that's what the big question lies. But here's another thing. There are for smaller nations like the Gambia and Sierra Leone, people have resorted to starting businesses on their own. It could be a small kind of business because there are opportunities. The only thing that we don't we mostly in sub-Saharan Africa or developing countries that we are lacking is the vision to look at it from an independent lens, saying that I'm not going to be looking up to the government to provide a job. Because we know most of our educated segment in our societies in Sierra Leone and the Gambia, when they get out of college with even a master's degree, they come back, and most of the times, 90% of the time, they only get an opportunity to work for the government in different areas. So you have very few independent organizations or independent businesses or private sector businesses that are out there. But this is also because of what other issues that we can lament on later is the brain drain when the likes of uh, 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 the likes of big business people here in the States that are Gambians, they rather do business here as opposed to doing business in the Gambia, or doing business here as opposed to doing business in Sierra Leone, because that it's not futile for them. It's not the atmosphere is not as good for them. They make that call. But when they do, we also have the other aspects of society where it's nepotism, or whether people will give jobs to only people they know or to family members, which naturally is understandable, but the merit-based system is not there yet. And that is because the structures are not there. Our structures to uplift the society has to be in place for these things to happen. But on the other hand of that, you have cooperative organizations, like within a community. Say, um, I'm just going to drop names, say Serakunda. If that's a region in the Gambia, if the people in the Gambia say, well, you know what, we cannot rely on Banjul for jobs. Let's just see what we need here. If the people in that community say, hey, look, Ousman, you good in carpentry. Momodou, you good in masonry. Um, what's my brother's name?
Sam Ceesay.
Sam. If Sam is good in electrical, engineering or that kind of stuff. So we in that small community, we say, you know what, let's do this. We can come together and do a small cooperative business. This is just a source of one way of one creating the environment to have employment in that community. Like I said, if you know carpentry, you can build nice wooden structures, beds, chairs, and entertainment units, and even doors and windows for homes. If I am good with the electrical, Momodou is good with the masonry, we have a small sector here that we can come together in collaboration to make our business something of, of one, job opportunities for other people and income generating source. Okay. I'm not saying this is not happening. In some areas it is, but at what scale? But then again, if you go and look at other people who are very industrious that have lived in the West and have gone back to the Gambia and have gone back to Sierra Leone, and they find ways of making employment easier. Because the thing I find when I travel to Sierra Leone, everybody's selling something. And I know it's the same in the Gambia. If everybody's selling, who's buying? The market structure is not favorable for independent businesses as much to survive. But then if you look at it again, the job opportunities is so on the shoulders of the government, because they have almost all these departments that need people, but you have more people vying for it. Hence, this translates to our problem, which is the financial independence. But again, what we can do, the reliance of just one job. I mean, people working, straight 8 hours for the day, and by the time you get home, you're not thinking of this. But the structures are not even there. Because here in the West or in the UK, Australia, you have 24-hour cycle in some industries. Some people work during the day, some people work at night. So there's a need for people who work at night. When others are going home, others are coming in. So these are the kind of things that we look at. So if these structures are in place in the Gambia, the people of the Gambia will stand to benefit from them. But then again, we have to encourage community settings wherein, if we have the resources, put funding behind them and get the people who can band together. I'll give you an example. You all are familiar with Home Depot. Home Depot was founded based on needs like this. Two friends, they were builders. They were going to community. How come I have to go to the shop to one store to go get nails, and then if I wanted planks, I have to go to the other store to get that. And if I need cement, I have to go to the other store to get that. Why don't we just get all of this and put it in one place and have it where we have different departments people can come in? And they're reminiscent of the food department stores to get that. And look at Home Depot today, and look at Lowe's, and look at the other small ones. They all are, condensed areas of certain things in order for it to be in one place centralized, so that when you come in, you can get whatever you want in terms of structure or building or what have you. So this can be done in a community in a different scale. If we come together, we can say, okay, we're good with this masonry, carpentry, and electrical. There you have it. And these are the three prongs to get a house in Africa. It doesn't have to be a big mansion, but if Momodou can do this, and Ousman can do this, Sam can do that, and I can do this, we can have a small company. We get people that work with us, and we uplift them and uplift ourselves and uplift our community.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. You are muted, Ousman. Ousman, does that answer your question?
Yes, it's fine. I thank you so very much, Mr. Ba. You elaborated well, and thank you once again.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
So before I come to my questions, I just want to tap into, just to give breaks to Mr. Ba a little bit as he drinks his water because he's been talking. He's doing most of the talking. I just want to add a little bit, to this. Again, I'm not a financial expert as well, but I work in financial industry for 12 years, so I have a good understanding what they do. I work with tellers, I work with the loan officers, and I'm in real estate now, so even it even make more sense, right? I could probably say a few things.
Yeah.
I think what Usman was asking mainly was because of the nature of the Gambia and Sierra Leone and other African countries, the wages and then the income and so forth, financial independence become an issue there. Um, to the fact that like people, there's no even where to grab. Thinking about even investing in insurance or trying to do even a mortgage or stuff like that. But what that is a different situation. The situations, our political situations, our economical situations in India is different from the Western world. So we have to approach it differently. Over there, mainly, you have to just start to create things on your own with the little you have. You know, um, Nkrumah said it, and other leaders said it. With the little you have, you can build that up. I also remember another leader, Paul Pagani, was speaking one time, and he said, "We're gonna utilize what we have to get to where we want to be." Because if you don't do that, if you want to jump, if you don't want to wait until you have enough to do something, that will never come. Okay, so let's say you started having, $1,000, $2,000. You got to look at that and try to make that work for you to get to 4,000. So how do you do that? Like you said, you can buy some, some, mason tools, and started contacting. I mean, like some work on the side and getting money for that. Then you develop your tools. I've seen people who started handcrafting basically from their backyard, and then they started developing from that. So things can be built from scratch, but in Africa, what we usually do is to start. We want a shortcut. We want to be there right away.
You gotta get
Oh,
it quick.
quick. So Yusuf is there, Sam is there. I have to be there. I have to start driving cars or Mercedes because they are doing that. But if you look at what you have and then you work on that, make that work for you to gain more, even if it's going to be 50% increment, you can gradually catch up. I remember in the Gambia, when people from Guinea comes with their table, um, we in the Gambia we will be sitting there and saying, "Oh, I'm not gonna sell. I'm not gonna sell cola nuts. I'm not gonna sell candies. I'm not gonna sell anything." The next thing we know, that man from Guinea, who is business minded, started from a small table to a bigger table. The
Yeah.
next thing you know, he started going to a bigger table. The next thing you know, he started opening a store, and we would be like, "Is this Abdul that just came with a small table?" And I said that, look at this guy wasting his time, because I pass around the corner every time. I say, "Which Abdul is with this small table? What is he gonna get? Who's gonna even buy from him, or what is he gonna get out of that?" But Abdul is using that one small table. What he got, he had to get a bigger table. So he got more. He had to develop that until he got a store, and now he's opening an enterprise. So the moment you have this mentality, that will get you where you want to be financially. You see, Rome was not built in a day. Our people, like I said, want you know to be there quick, and also dependency. So once you put that in your life practice, this has also some to do with us, the way we think, and then the way we conduct ourselves. Because finance comes with discipline. Like I told you, I saw this spreadsheet that I was showing earlier. That's discipline. Who would have time for that? They will probably think that I was going crazy because I'm having to sit down and account for all of that. But it's not that. Finance needs discipline. Once you put discipline in it, you would be able to control your expenses, and you're gonna generate more revenues. So that's what I was gonna tell Usman, because the Gambians will frustratedly say, "Ah, we are not getting paid. 5,000, what is that? 10,000, what is that?" Compared to US or in the, but that's not the point. You cut your clothes according to your size. If you have 5,000, you eat according to 5,000 person eats. You dress according to 5,000 person dressed. Sorry. But you're gonna be earning 5,000 and you dress like 10,000 folks dressed. That's out of line.
That's a problem.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Oh, you dress, like you eat in a fancy restaurant. No, I mean you gotta be. I mean you gotta get healthy. You gotta eat healthy, but you gotta really base it on what you can afford, so you can actually save more and invest more. So my point here is that is one thing. The second thing that I wanted to elaborate on is you mentioned is about credits. So especially us in the diaspora, credit the credit cards here are easy to get. The first thing you get 10,000 mails in your mailbox talking about we can give you 1 year free. You are no credit for 1 year. They will call you even to offer you good deals. Our problem is, especially, this is not only Africa, this is black people in general. Our problem is
It's
when we get that credit card, we think it's money. That credit card is not a debit card.
it's
It,
debt.
it is exactly. It is a way to get you hooked
Yeah.
to a loan that you need to
Yeah.
paid. If you don't get paid, the person lending you is making money, and
Yep.
at the end of the day, if you default, it kind of mess you up. I'm in
Does.
real estate, so I know how many people have been getting so much money in their account and they cannot buy a house because of
Yep.
because of the their credit, and how many people have money and then they couldn't like he said they're gonna do a no document loan because they have no they have no income to prove, or they have no credit, so they just want to go behind the closed doors. Don't show any document, just pay 25% down to get a house, or 20% down. I see it every day. But the point is here, what I'm trying to emphasize is that for you to be successful with credit, try to do this because you need credit, especially those in diaspora. What are you gonna do? Get the credit, and what you're supposed to buy, don't buy it cash. Use the credit, buy it, and go and pay it before the date. Pay everything that you took out of the credit and pay it. So what you are doing, the game that you are doing here is that you are saving yourself from interest completely, and you're also building your credit. Because the credit guy might say, "Damn, I'm not making money of Sam or Yusuf," but the rules are the rules, right? You say that
Yep.
by before the end of the month, if he pays, no credit, no interest, right? He pays.
Yep.
Now your credit is gonna get better, and you are not owing any interest. So instead of you going with your debit and buy from the store 2,000, what you're gonna do is spend that 2,000 on that credit, and look at the date that that 2,000 need to be paid without interest, and pay it. So once you do that, you are interest free. There's no riba in it. If you definitely believe in those things, riba, then there's none on it. And at the same time, your credit is good. Now, the other thing I'm gonna mention here, and I'm gonna let you guys come in. The insurance. The insurance is another big deal. Life insurance, especially. Car insurance, nobody complains about that because even the imams and other people, I don't hear them saying, "Oh, car insurance, there's an issue with it." What I hear them say is life insurance, and maybe like you said, property insurance, because like some people think like when you insure your life, you probably thinking of dying. So that psychological this thing. Oh man, that means I'm about to die, so I'm insuring my life. It has nothing to do with that. Secondly, some people think like when you insure your life and the person that are the beneficiary, they could take you out to get the money. I mean, we have seen that the Melendez brothers, we've seen that happen here, even in the US.
Yeah.
So I mean, people, family members who knows that they have a very big, life insurance or whatever, they like if they want to do that, they could do that. Or some people will also say that, why would I, why would I do that? I mean, like if I passed away, especially in diaspora, people can put money together. But how many people have we seen in diaspora who it was very difficult for their body to be transported? They have to go door to door. So how many people have done this life insurance and successfully their body has been sent home without an issue? So this is what our folks need to understand. There is a financial independence in investing in life insurance. Make sure that the policy is good, and they are reliable companies that could give the money back whenever the incident happens, God forbid, or whenever it happens. But there are people who have benefited that. I myself have seen that. A brother who really had no issue getting his body sent home because his policy was kicked in right away. So again, these are opportunities that are there. There are some jobs that will also give you life insurance. Like when I was working for the bank, when somebody passed away there, they doubled the salary that you're getting paid for, as
Yeah.
a form of insurance. So those opportunities are there. Again, my contribution to this, in order to help my friend out here to really take a break, is that we need to figure out to be living off from paycheck to paycheck. I know that is a big deal here, especially in US. Paycheck to paycheck, 50%. Actually, my former research was like 70% of the people in the United States live from paycheck to paycheck. That means if something happened to them today with their jobs, they're gonna go into loans or probably sleep on the street. So the question here is, how do you live off from paycheck to paycheck? That would be another discussion we would probably schedule, because that is an area of itself. Paycheck to paycheck is meant, generally you are sitting comfortably and thinking that everything is going to be okay tomorrow, and next thing you know, things go wrong. So living for paycheck to paycheck is a very dangerous lifestyle. You should be have able to have a saving of about a year or more, whereby in case you are out of work or emergency happen, you should be able to tap into that fund for you and your family. Yeah, but I'm gonna stop here, and I will let Sam come in, and if he has anything, then Yusuf, we can start to wrap it up. Definitely. But this is really, really the subject is really wide, but at least we were able to focus on key areas, which is the insurance loans, and of course how to be how to save money for future emergencies. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, Mr. Sawaneh. Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Ba. Definitely, you guys have really got into more details in this. And I know that time is also going. We're all against time here. So I'll make it short and simple. And my final thing would be back to you, Mr. Ba, being the guest today. I want you to be able to tell people, you know, especially Africans that travel from Africa to the United States or Europe or anywhere in the world, when you get to, I'll speak about America because we're in America. All three of us are in America here. So when people travel, all of us, when we were coming, we all say, oh, I'm only going for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, I'll make it and I'll come back. And then guess what? We end up staying here for 20 something years.
I'm still here.
So, excuse me. I'm a little bit under the weather. But so what would you advise that newcomer that just landed in the United States or Europe or somewhere from Africa? What would you advise them to do to be able to gain financial independence 15 years down the road? Because even though their intention may not be to come here and stay here for 15 years, like we all said, they may be thinking they will be here for only a short period of time and go back. Well, they will end up staying here for a while. So what will be your advice to them to start when they come in to be able to gain financial independence, but also be able to put a step together to be able to get themselves ready for that final call by the Almighty Allah, just in case that happened? What would their family do? What can happen to their family if they set it up correctly from the beginning? That's my final.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Mahmoud. I'll start with Sam. For that person, in fact, I sent Momodou some clips I did with Sierra Leone community a while ago about things like that. The first thing I'll ask them is don't hesitate to ask questions. Do not hesitate. Don't be shy, because sometimes when and particularly in this age, the information is quick. Not like 15, 20 years ago, even when things will take a day or two before Africa gets it. Now it's immediate. You have WhatsApp, you have Facebook, you have Instagram, you have TikTok, and all these other things. That things are so fluid. People get them immediately. And I can tell you this, like for me, when I came to the States, I was versed because I had access to a lot of these things back in Sierra Leone. Like I have access to, Momodou can tell you, I loved music, so I had access to information on music. I had Jet magazines, I have Ebony magazines, I have these on my disposal in Freetown. So coming here, most of the things were not new to me. But again, my setup, like you or most of us, we come here, we say, you know what, I'm going to hang out for about 10 years and I'll move back home, maybe get a master's degree, or maybe get a PhD, or maybe get enough stability here and I can go back home and go settle. But sometimes the conditions at hand will not or will dictate how that goes. But the fundamental thing also here is that is common with people, Africans, or even like Momodou alluded to earlier, blacks. It's not, it's not, I'm trying to choose my words. Is we fail not because we plan to fail.
Oh man,
We
that's
f-
Sam's favorite quote.
we fail because we fail to plan.
I
Yep, he
don't
knows
even
that.
know why
I always say that.
So
used to say that today.
So, it's interesting because I mean, because when we look at things, we look at this like Mohammed is saying. Okay, you're taking 15 minutes of your day to come just look at your spreadsheet to see what are the ups and downs, right? And you can take care of those immediately. Say, okay, well, I don't want to dip in the hole. So if you look at your income, you look at your expenses and say, I'm spending more money than I need to. Why is that? Okay, I need to just check one or two things to make sure that I'm in track. That's number one. For the newcomer in the States or in the West or in the diaspora, is one, ask the questions. Don't be shy. And now, if you're hesitating to ask your hosts or your relatives or your brother or your uncle or aunties or what have you, you can go on the internet and pop in these questions. You'll get as many answers as you can, on the subject that you wanted. How do you get credit, or how do you save, or what can you do for insurance, and all of these things? All of these informations are there. Now, once you get that information, what you do with it is up to you. It's incumbent on you to make the decisions that can affect your life in a long run. That's just the basic advice I can give somebody new. If you get the opportunity to get a job at a reputable company or any company that gives you certain props, take advantage of them. Key here is retirement, right? It helps you financial independence down the line. 401ks, most companies offer that. That is free money. That is free money for you. Because if you some companies will match you up to what, 3%, 6%. Some can now conservatively they scale back. Some used to do up to 10% of what you do. If you do uh $10, they match you $10. If you do $20, they match you up to $10, half of it. So ask these questions. And if you go to the HR people, they'll tell you on your first day or your orientation, they'll tell you, hey, look, we give you 401k, we give you medical, we give you this, we give you life. Like all of these things I remember said earlier. So it's there, you know it. But most of our people, because we don't ask the right questions, we don't know. All we're looking at is, oh, I have a job, I'm gonna be making money. And because you didn't ask those questions about the 401k or retirement, you're leaving money on the table. You say, oh, no, no, I'm making a little bit money. I don't want to get into that. But no, put a- as as little as you can, the minimum. And for most companies, it's 3%. 3% of your salary, put that down. They can match you that 3%. If you put $30 on the table and they match you with $30, that's $33 that you're getting. And the advantage of that is, yes, you may have to keep it up to your retirement age for you to access it. But if you stick around with that company, you can borrow against that and at a very minuscule interest. But the interest is not going to anybody else, it's going back to you because you're doing the interest repayment for the loan that you borrowed against your retirement, okay, against your 401k. So these are all the things that if we educate the new people that's coming in, they can take advantage of that because that's free money. I tell people that all the time. It's free money. Don't leave it on the table. Take it. take it. You can draw on it later with little or no interest, or you can pull from it and lose some penalty. But who wants to do that? But the advantages are there. Again, to circle that back, ask questions and look for the answers. And I want to piggyback on Momodou's stuff with regards to credit scores. Credit scores are the fundamentals here in this country, in particular in the United States. In the US, we all know now, even for job interviews, they look at credit scores. Insurance companies, to provide you with insurance for your car, they pull your credit. Your financial risk is going to get a negative influence on your habitual driving. That is what they're concluding. If I'm up to debt to my neck, I run the risk of doing things irrationally. Your insurance company is going to whack you with a high premium. So does your home insurance. And for most people, even our people, I can tell you there's another thing that I hardly ever talked about, or I hardly ever hear about, is people who are renting. Remember what happened to the apartment complex in New York, in the Bronx, that burned down? Most of these people don't have renters insurance. They don't. And I know for most people in our community, we rent. We're renting these huge apartment buildings, but we never thought about renters insurance. It is so minuscule, probably about $20 a month. They can insure the properties in that apartment.
I
And if you
regretted
tag,
I
say that
regretted
again?
that I regretted that 2025 when my
Oh,
house
yeah?
2026 when my house burned down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, when
I
the
didn't
house
know
that
that.
I'm in, the apartment, we lost our
Yeah.
property. And I was saying that, people come to me, you don't have rental insurance. I say, what is that? And then they start
Wow.
to
Oh
say, I
my
said, oh
God.
my goodness,
Yeah.
you could have collected fortune, but go ahead.
Yes, you could have. You could have. I mean, like
Wow.
for that average for one bedroom apartment, you're talking about a settee of furniture, a full bedroom set, and your property, your TVs, and what have you. You can tag in your values, sentimental values like paintings, pictures, or what have you. You can put all of those on there. If something is to happen to that and the fire burns it down, your premium payout can be up to 70,000, the least. I
Yeah,
don't know. It could be around that, just basic for a $20 policy a month. $20. And I know, like Momodou, he drinks Starbucks, he's a fancy guy.
not
That's
as
seven.
fancy as San Ceesay.
So, people spend money on frivolous things like
No.
a cup of Starbucks is $7, $8. And if you tag along a scone or a donut, that's $10 a day. If you do that 3 times a week, that's $30. That's more than the cost of your renter's insurance. And people don't even understand, even if you lose valuable properties out in the street, your renter's insurance can cover it, you know? It can
Right.
cover it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's your personal property. If you lose it outside and you came, okay, I lost my ring. It's a $3,000 diamond ring. Um, it's your personal property. You file the report, they get the claims and what have you, they process it. It can be there. But for those people, think about it. All those residents in those buildings that had fire in them, I mean, it brought them back to zero. Had most of them had renters insurance, they would have been in the recovery mode to get the replacement value of all the things that they lost in those fires. So these are the kind of stuff that we look at. So insurance can go a long way, if you look at the cost per the value that you stand to gain. I mean, nobody wants to say, okay, I'm just going to put money, because I know most of us will say, um, I'm putting all this money and I'm not going to get it. But who knows? That's why they call it accidental. You may put $20 today and something happens tomorrow and you end up pulling $70,000. That's to restore you to where you were before the fire. So I'll leave that for now. But then coming to the credit, let's credit is a very sensitive topic. you know, how you manage it. They have something that they call the credit bureaus don't like to talk about this. They don't even educate people on this. They call it the credit utilization. Now, Momodou said, we can get, all these crazy offers. The thing about us Africans or Black people is that we jump at it. Think about this for a second. When you get offers in the mail, every small company, you go to the grocery stores, I mean, you go to TJ Maxx, you go to Macy's, they all want to give you credit. For what? Because they want you to fall in that trap. If you apply for that credit, how much are they going to give you? Maximum maybe 500, 600, $1,000. But look at the interest. The interest is 20% interest.
20%, yeah.
Yeah. But then, not only that, we get the tricky part about credit is the utilization. So let's do this as an example. If you have a credit card with, say, Bank A or even Macy's for that matter, let's say Macy's, you on 33rd Street, you go down there, you have the Macy's card, you have $1,000 line. Oh, I'm Momodou, I'm going to get myself some sweaters, I'm going to get some jackets for the kids and all of that. What the credit card company don't tell you is the utilization, as I was saying. The utilization is no more than 15% of your line. No more than 15%. And in this case, if it's $1,000, no more than $250 at a usage. Because when you go past that, they consider you a risk. And I know the mentality in our communities is that we think that we have the money, I can use it to $1,000 and come back and pay it, before the month ends, or I can pay it back. But once you max it, if your credit score was at 640, your credit score is at 780, when you max that utilization line, it start dropping down. You can recover from it when you go back, but the seesaw effect is what you don't want. You want to have a steady flow. So while it's good to use and pay back to build credit, you can use 50% of it and maintain your high credit score and go steady. You know
That's
what I mean?
good to know, because that's something that I didn't know. But thank you for that.
I picked up on that because I know, and this is my area that I used to educate a lot of my African folks, because I worked in the Germantown area up to now, Frederick, where I live. And I tend to take my time. And believe it or not, these things were never taught in school, and communities don't talk about them. The credit cards don't tell you about this. I had to learn about this when I was living in Atlanta. There was a guy I used to listen to. He's a community advocate, and he has a TV show down there. So I listened to him. He said the utilization is what's killing a lot of people's credit scores. He said because once you get past that 15%, if it's $1,000, you pass $250. Yes, you can afford to pay it back. But once you pass that, you go feathering to the point where they consider you a risk. Yes, your credit score comes down. But when you pay back to zero, it takes you to like another cycle for you to go back up. Hence, you see it comes down and it goes up, it comes down and it goes up. But if you maintain that utilization about 15%, you're good with it, but this is good. This is good. And also what I tell people, if you're one of those big spenders, once you've maintained this credit to that level, to the 800s, to the 790s, you're above there. Look for the credit cards that can offer you not the 1,000. They can offer you a line in the 20s, in the 30s. And these are airline credit cards and hotel credit cards and this kind of stuff, like United or Marriott. These ones, as long as because they know that the industry demands a lot of usage or expenses, so they're bold enough to give you $30,000 credit in a heartbeat if you are the category where you're above the 700s, so they can give you that. But once you have those, if you have a $30,000 line of credit, you're looking at 15% usage of that. You can do the big budget items and not pay the interest and pay it quicker because you have the cash flow and you continue to maintain that credit. So that's a good thing I wanted to throw out there. And also, people should have the discipline. The fundamentals that we studied, if I can circle back, is having the discipline to now study your assets, study your liabilities, look at this and set a plan. My liabilities are becoming overwhelming. What do I need to do to curb that effect? Because think about it. Momodou said something about the secure savings that you have. Ideally, not everybody can save $1,000. I mean, a whole year worth of, mortgage or daily expenses. But if you can, try at all cost to do 3 months, because if you have marketable skills, in 3 months you would have been able to find another job for subsistence, right? So try it at all costs. Look at the things that we can make bite size. Look at the things that we can break down a little bit that we can easily achieve, as opposed to looking at the big thing and setting a higher goal. When you set a higher goal or higher expectation, it makes it tough for you to attain. But if you break it down a little bit to, you know, something that you can easily attain, it's better than shooting for the big stars. So again, having the discipline, analyzing what you get to bring in, analyzing what you get to send out, and then you can measure yourself and put yourself in a position where you can manage it properly.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. So we're gonna start and end here. Thank you, definitely, Yusuf. One more thing I would just want to say, and thank you, Sam, and then also Usman. One thing I want to say to our brothers and sisters out there, I've seen it a lot. Um, I've seen it, and a friend of mine got into trouble for it. We keep money in our houses, huge amount of money, and we know banks exist. For some weird reason, we might be thinking that, oh, giving my money to the bank, is that safe? Sometimes people are naive, or giving saving in the bank. What about if I have it here? Because I can use it anyhow. So what is happening is, one of my friends suffered from that kind of issue because his money ended up getting stolen. A lot of money. You're talking about over 10,000. So
Yep.
now everybody in the house has to be a suspect. And at the end of the day, nothing came out of it. So some people also did lose money because their house was on fire or something happened, flooding and stuff like that. There's no need to keep your money, not to this age. Even if you have a self, save your money in the bank. As long as there's a record of it, you gotta get tracking of it, especially with the online banking and all the stuff. Listen, I mean, if you don't choose to get an interest, there are non-interest bearing accounts.
Yeah, the checking accounts are free checking accounts
Yeah,
anywhere you go.
free
Yep.
checking accounts. Just get that and call it a day, and you can access it anytime with debit. So
Yep.
another thing is, we tend to leave our money sitting. You have, let's say Sam has 100,000, 200,000. Invest your money in CDs or some kind of you know accounts that you can get returns. I'm not saying those who
Yep.
don't believe in returns, because again, these fundamental ideas in our society of interest and stuff like that, I don't want to get into that because I'm not a scholar, but that is for those, because like even mortgages, they tend to even question those. It's left to to people's understanding. But what I'm trying to say, if you want to maximize your income, don't let your money sit 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, and next year you come and it's sitting there. What is the point? You either physically invest it or you put it in an interest bearing accounts like IRA, like
Yep.
with IRA and other interest bearing CDs and so forth. So
Yep.
unless you can manage to own money, invest it in real estate, buy a property, do something. But having to look and say, oh, this is how much you go around showing friends, this is how much I have in my account. What is that gonna do for you? That money,
Yeah.
the value is gonna, is gonna with inflation and everything. The value
Yeah.
is coming down day and day. What
So,
you had, the money that you had, yesterday, right? The 100,000 you have yesterday, the value is more than today's 100,000. So
yes.
you are losing instead. But if you buy a house with that, guess what happened? That house value is going up because real estate is going up. So those things and stocks and other things, I know these are areas that us, folks, Africans, especially the blacks, we tend to be, careful about this. But there is risk in everything.
Yeah.
There's living in everything. Even living is a risk. Like even eating is a risk. Right? We have risk, being in front of these computers. Anything could happen. So this risk, we don't have to sit down and look at the negative side. We gotta look at what makes sense, what is economically feasible, and give us returns. So once we do that, especially us in the diaspora, we will be financially independent. Let's apply all these things that we spoke about today. And our subject matter expert here, Yusuf, my boy, back in the days, is here, and he has given us a lot of things today. And Sam Ceesay, as usual, has really pounded us with so many great questions, and Ousman as well. So you can close us, definitely, Yusuf, your final words, and if I get Sam's blessing.
Go right ahead. Yes. Yeah, go right ahead. Let him close
Well,
it off. He's the guest.
thank you guys. I mean, it's a pleasure being here today. I welcome, anything that has to do with uplifting my people. And this is a learning process as well. It's not just, sharing. I say this all the time, even in my professional dealings on a day-to-day basis. I say to people, what is education? What is education if you don't pass it along? It's nothing. Okay. So that's number one. And the second thing is that, don't keep valuable information to yourself if you know somebody in the community can benefit from it. So with that said, you know, do the fundamental basis. Ask questions if you don't know. Seek for answers. You can go online. You can call Sam. You can call Momodou. Momodou can share if you have any questions for me in the future. By all means, you can send them. Momodou can reach to me. I can answer. I can provide answers as much as I can. And let's look after each other. Looking after each other doesn't necessarily mean that I can knock on your door, but giving information on a public sphere of public forum like this, it is very helpful to our people. And you know, information is power. If we can uplift our communities, it will be better for everybody, as opposed to just the few that has it and doesn't pass it along. And go back to financial independence. Let's do the homework, do the basic, look after your own, look after the things that are affecting you, and that way you'll be able to make the corrections for them. Thank you, and I appreciate you guys being here and welcoming as well. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, Sam. Thank you, you.
Thank you all. Yeah, and you all have a great evening. Thank you,
You
Mr.
do
Ba. We
too.
really
Thank you.
appreciate your time.
We
Thank
appreciate
you
it.
very much.
Yeah,
We'll get
thank
you
you.
back here another time, definitely.
Another time. Yes,
God
absolutely.
willing, yes. It'll be a
Yeah,
pleasure. Thank
yeah.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for time.